conspiracy,
Dogman, Sasquatch,
Homunculus,
alien races,
Anunnaki,
Corey Feldman,
ghost ass. That's cool.
poltergeist, spirit summoning, magicians are demons,
Anunnaki.
Close the door. Close the door.
what is the moon, cover-ups, MK Ultra, shadow people, disagreements,
Quiet, I'm trying to say words with my mouth.
vampire.
Oh, yeah. It's the spot.
Yeah.
Well, hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Gleeful. I'm Chris.
I'm John.
And I'm Jeremy.
You just got John very excited. And you should be, John, because today is an exciting day of terrifying tales. Terrifying tales of Texas terror.
It's great news. What's not great news is we don't have video today.
That's true. That's a good point. We should mention that in case people can't tell.
Can't see.
Yeah, I wish people could see me because we are visiting Texas right now. As you may know from our last episode, our good brother John, who's here because he is our co-host.
You sound like you're in a closet.
I am in a closet.
You sound extra nasally.
I thought it'd be good in here, like a nice dead sound, you know?
Yeah, we're staying with our good friend John Kirk and his wife Sally and their children, and Jeremy's in their closet, in the parents' closet. So he was covered in male and female clothing pieces.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome here. It's like Narnia. It's like a preview to Narnia.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. That's the whole reason I'm in here.
That's okay. Well, at least we addressed it.
Yeah, I apologize to listeners. Anyways, we're in Texas right now.
Yeah.
And if you guys have heard the last expansion episode, you might know what's going on with us. And visiting John, of course, in Austin, kind of swinging through the state. Now Chris and I are in Houston. And John is living in Austin now, if you've been following the Belief Hole at all, since the end of season 6. And Chris and I are hoping to live here at least seasonally. But spending time here, it's kind of got our mind into the strange of Texas. And having just done an expansion episode, which was fascinating, on Austin and some of the lesser known mysteries of Austin, Texas, we decided to look into our own database of the weird from our own listener stories and see what kind of strange tales we can dig up. True, original, unheard tales from Texas.
Yes.
From listeners like you.
Expanding out all over the state.
Whoop, whoop. And boy, do we find some weirdies.
Yeah, some excellent stories in here. Some of my favorite we might have ever done will be in this episode. So,
Great podcast name, by the way.
what?
Weirdies.
Weirdies.
Simple.
What was the one that came up from the last episode? Accidentally? Freak?
Oh, yeah.
Freak junkies.
Yeah.
Freak junkies.
I mean, it's kind of silly, but
Bet you get a Monster sponsorship.
I just imagine like guys like drinking Surge and rushing into like
Yeah.
haunted houses.
it seems like a podcast that would be on a movie.
A stereotype of
Yeah,
like a bro
exactly.
podcast.
Yeah. A satire, if you would.
Anyways, sorry to interrupt the show.
Yeah. But yeah, good stories coming up.
We should get into them. Let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
We're going to start with maybe one of my favorite stories of all time. I don't know if I should say that because I don't want you to get your hopes up. And if you think it's terrible, then you'll be very let down. But I think it's pretty fantastic. And it's because it involves something we don't talk about very often on the show. But I know that many people out there listening are interested in. John, I think you're pretty interested in this discussion topic.
Can you extend the setup a little longer?
It is the idea of the walk-in,
Ah.
which we've kind of broached before.
I think Alan's a walk-in.
Right. You think Alan's a walk-in of Jake, your dog.
Mhm, pretty sure.
And by the way, dog stories coming up for those of you who like animals out there. We got a good dog story or two. But yeah, so we'll talk about that after this story, but let's get right into this really fascinating account. This comes from Sharon, and this takes place in Dickinson, Texas, around 96 to 97. And to give you a quick setup about Sharon, Sharon is she's a longtime listener, 63-year-old registered nurse with 35 years of experience. Fascinating life. Grandmother of 4, widowed to a police officer. She grew up in Houston. Her father was an astronomer who had an observatory in their backyard.
Oh, yeah. She sent in a great story.
Yeah, relating to that one day we'll do. But also, I think one of the most fascinating things is she's actually comes from a long line of board talkers. Her family were like Ouija boards in the spiritual movement since before the Civil War. She comes from a lineage. She has since stopped using them because she, John, was actually helping to investigate missing persons cases for several years and was successful. But the repercussions of using the board, things that happened in her life, she blames on the board use. We'll get into that maybe another day if we tell that story, but she was even involved in the famous Texas killing fields cases.
Yeah, I came across that in just researching some other cases down here, some unexplained accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting because she listed ones that she'd been involved with. but she wasn't sure how public she should be about them.
Right.
But definitely an interesting concept. We had a fascinating speak pipe that I'd like to do an episode tied into the idea of psychic detectives, that kind of thing, with a listener who he had a dream where he essentially dreamt through the eyes of this woman he later found out had been killed and was trying to figure out if he should contact the police. That's a really interesting speak pipe. We'll definitely have to in the future. But yeah, without further ado, Chris, let's play Sharon's story.
I call this A Girl Steps In. Background. Back when I was young, I wallpapered as a side job. A colleague of mine in ICU, Ken Bergenin, RN, was a massage therapist. He rented a small building in Dickinson, Texas, for his massage therapy clinic. Ken and I worked it out where he would give me free massages and I would wallpaper his new clinic. Several days a week, on my days off, I spent in the clinic wallpapering. I have an uncle, Larry Ridenour, who was a draftsman of Union Carbide in Texas City. He decided he wanted to be a hypnotist. I agreed to be his practice subject. The event. During the hypnotic sessions, we did all kinds of things: past life regressions, attempts at astral projection, weight loss, etc. Well, during one hypnotic session, as he was bringing me out, someone else stepped in. It was like I was stuck in the background and couldn't find my way back home. I could hear them talking from a distance, but I could not see anything. For 45 minutes, this girl or lady talked with my Uncle Larry. This is what she told him. Her name was Susan. She lived in Dickinson. She had died in 1958. She had gone swimming in the bayou in the back of her house. Prior to her death, she had a terrible fight with her parents about a boy in college. She was from a well-to-do family. He was not. Her parents forced her to break up with him, which, being an obedient daughter in the 1950s, she did. But she was heartbroken. Shortly after, she drowned. Her parents were heartbroken, blaming themselves, thinking she had committed suicide. But she hadn't. Her leg had gotten tangled up in some bushes or tree branches, and she drowned. Seeing how devastated her parents were, she couldn't bear to leave them, having them not know the truth. As she was talking, I could see visions of a house, a 2-story yellow house on the bayou, with an outside spiral staircase. Finally, after about what my uncle later said was 45 minutes, I was able to find my way out. Fast forward to the next week, I am back wallpapering at the clinic. I tell Ken about what happened during my last hypnotic session. He listened carefully, nodding his head as I was talking. When I was finished, I asked, "Well, what do you think? It's freaky, right?" Ken said, "No, makes perfect sense. The yellow house on the bayou with the spiral staircase belongs to the captain and his wife. They own this building. They also had a daughter who died years ago. I never knew the particulars, but they say she haunts this building. My guess is, because of your previous use of the talking boards and your hypnotic sessions with your uncle, she was able to connect or attach to you." Aftermath. Susan seems to have attached herself to me. My personality changed some, meaning I was more proper and polite, better posture. I had better table manners, dressed more fashionable, took more time to put on makeup. I ate better. I started eating more salads. I developed a liking for broccoli and asparagus. I lost 20 pounds. I went back to college and got my BSN. Sometimes, I have a fear of water. I know Ken spoke to her parents. He never said what he said to them or what the reaction was. All the names and places I mentioned are real. Ken finished out his career at Mainland Center Hospital. He died about 2010 from complications from diabetes. My uncle retired from Union Carbide and passed away from a stroke, September 2022. Over the years, her popping into my life became less and less. I haven't felt her in about 10 years now. I hope she was able to find the peace she was searching for.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
And for those of you who aren't familiar with the idea of walk-ins, we kind of set it up, but basically it's kind of a metaphysical belief that a walk-in might come in and sort of take the place of another soul in a person's body, sometimes due to a traumatic experience or a spiritual awakening or, something like this where you might be under let's say hypnosis, or if you believe in the concept of astral travel, that whole idea where something might come in and try to take your place for whatever purpose.
You've left room for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like possession.
Right, not exactly.
It's more like a ride share.
No, it's kind of like, it's like an agreement. The previous soul decides on some level that like either predestined before they came into the body, or was just too much for them. And on some metaphysical level, they both agree that they're going to swap places, sort of thing.
Is that always the definition, that it is a consensual thing?
Yes.
So then would you say that specifically it becomes over the line of possession when it's not a consensual?
Yeah.
Interesting. But I just thought that was a fascinating story. I mean, the detail that really got me there was where her parents had thought she had killed herself because of her depression over having to break up with this guy.
You're talking about the walk-in right now, right?
The walk-in.
That spoke during the hypnotherapy session?
Right. But she had gotten caught on a branch in the underwater in the bayou when she was swimming. So there was this, like, she wanted to tell her parents, wanted to communicate that she hadn't killed herself.
Yeah.
And that's why she'd stuck around and why she took the opportunity to enter into Sharon.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was fascinating. The universe is a strange place with a lot of dramas that play out, ones we're unaware of all the time.
Well, how weird would that be? Because I've thought about doing hypnotherapy. Was she doing regression at this point, or was it just hypnotherapy?
She said she was doing the works. I mean,
Okay.
So I'm not sure this specific account. I can't remember if she said that in the story or not. It sounds like a regression type thing because they were pulling her back.
It's crazy to feel. It kind of reminds me of Get Out, that movie by Jordan Peele, where you're kind of set back and you can't quite get to the surface of your own consciousness in your body.
Yeah. Or Insidious.
But you can you're aware of what's going on. That's kind of what this was, right? Which is where she could hear this girl talking through her.
Yeah.
And then given those visions. So this kind of it seems like this started her going on track with helping detectives out with psychic detectivery.
Well, actually, I guess she had started when she was 10.
Oh, really?
She'd been trained on using talking boards to divine where people were.
That's right. It's in her family, right?
Yeah, but we can get into that on another day. I just wanted to share this story because it was such a unique account in relation to the stories that we've shared here before.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think about walk-ins. Would you do hypnotherapy? Would you do regression? Let us know.
Yeah, leave a comment.
Yeah, or give us a call. My phone number is...
SpeakPipe on our website.
That's probably a better idea.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing, Sharon.
Thanks, Sharon.
Sharon. That's your new name.
Sharon.
All right. Shall we move down the road, the old highway, the old Texas highway?
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen.
All right. This next one is a bizarro tale. I find this very interesting. This came to us from another listener of the show. She goes by ThatTexasGal on Discord.
Oh, yeah. ThatTexasGal.
By the way, we have a Discord. If you're interested, you can go to our website and sign up and talk all things belief hole with friends like this gal.
Yes.
Anyway.
Link in the show notes.
This is an interesting one. It's almost a kind of a two stories in one that may relate to one another. And I'll just let her tell the tale. This comes to us from ThatTexasGal, and this happened in 1998 in West Texas. I call this the Ancient Monkey Man.
Weirdies.
Okay, I think I have the guts to tell this story. This was the first supernatural experience I ever had. I grew up on a large cattle ranch in the middle of nowhere, West Texas. My mom, dad, brother, and I lived on the west side of the ranch, my grandparents on the east. One afternoon in 1998, I was driving down the dirt road to my grandparents' house to visit them, something I did a couple times a week. I remember it was late summer, hot, dry, and dusty. The windows in my old truck were down because the AC never worked, so I was going slow, maybe 25 miles an hour, to avoid kicking up too much dust. The road was about a half-mile long from the highway, and at the halfway point, it dropped down into a creek crossing. I was just at the rise in the road, before it dropped, when something caught my eye. Standing in a live oak motte, just beside the road, on the passenger side. It was small, not more than 4 foot tall, and maybe shorter, because I think it was standing on a small embankment. It was covered in long, stringy, thin hair that was yellow-gray in color, almost like the caliche dust from the road. It was scrawny and bent like an old man. It had a wide face, kind of like an orangutan, but it was so wrinkled it almost looked melted. I couldn't see its eyes. They were lost in the wrinkles. But I very distinctly remember the mouth. It was wide and stuck out like a chimp mouth, like a teacup turned over. And it was all wrinkled too, like an old smoker's mouth. I never stopped or even slowed down as I went by. Just stared at it as I rolled past. Almost like I was in a trance. I just remember getting this feeling like whatever it was so old, ancient. I don't remember driving the rest of the way to my grandparents', but I remember walking in the living room where they were sitting in their chairs. I must have had a strange look on my face because my grandmother asked me what was wrong. And I remember distinctly saying, "I just saw a monkey from the Planet of the Apes." My grandfather let out this loud, "Aw" sound of disbelief that shook me out of whatever shock I was in. After that, my whole extended family teased me relentlessly for years. It was awful. Somehow the story got changed to me seeing a unicorn. I told everyone and even convinced myself for years that what I actually saw was an Aoudad sheep. They have long stringy hair and round muzzles. In fact, I think I could put my phone down right now and still talk myself out of it. Sure would be a lot easier that way. But why would I have said, "I saw a monkey from the Planet of the Apes," if all I had seen was an old sheep? A few months after that experience, something else happened that in my mind was related. It was late fall that same year, and my parents were out of town, which was pretty cool to me at that time because they never went anywhere. I was sitting in my room in a papasan chair. Remember those? With my feet propped up in the windowsill with the window open, reading a book. I had a petite little black lab named Evie, who was asleep beside me. We lived in a 2-story log cabin with the bedrooms on the second floor. Now, I'm one of those bookworms that really gets lost in a book. I can read for hours without noticing anything happening around me. And I was deep in the book I was reading when an eerie feeling suddenly came over me, like a sudden buzzing of electricity in the air. All the hair on my arms stood up, and at the same time, Evie slowly got to her feet next to me, staring at the stairs beyond my door, hackles raised. Suddenly, there was a loud creak and pop. The unmistakable sound of someone stepping on the wooden staircase. I've always been more fight than flight, and Evie took off towards the stairs barking, with me on her heels. And I could hear the thump 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 of someone heavy running down the stairs, followed by the slamming of the screen door. We were only seconds behind, and I swear to you, there was no one there. My parents have a big grass yard, and beyond the fence are some big oak trees and a field. There's literally nowhere to hide. I put Evie in the truck, and we spent the night in my grandparents' house. It wasn't until about 10 years ago, when strange things started happening again, that I was forced to look back and admit to myself what I had really seen and experienced that year. But all that is a story for another time.
Very descriptive.
Yeah, definitely.
Good writing.
I looked up an image of the Aoudad sheep, or also known as a Barbary sheep.
Yeah, I put it up on the screen.
It doesn't look like it looks like the devil. Does not look like a monkey.
Yeah, it looks like one of those things you'd see out of a horror movie.
Yeah, staring you down in the dark, like the witch. Actually, it reminds me of the witch.
Yep.
Yeah, not at all like an orangutan. The witch has a similar. It's like a black version of one of these sheep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What is that one? It looks like Medusa.
It's a 4-banger.
Which one?
4-banger.
With the 4 horns.
Oh, are you sharing, Chris?
No, you are.
Oh.
Sliding through.
I don't know if it's switched to the other. Oh, I'm on a different page. Okay.
Go back to the other one. Oh, you didn't see that one, Jeremy?
Slide back a few.
Look at that guy. All right.
Slide back a few. Slide it back.
Here we go. I'm going to find the page.
You're not. There you go.
Mm.
Keep going. Go.
That guy's a grand.
And again. And again.
You'll know it when you see him.
What the hell?
There's a Aoudad right there.
That is an awesome.
That thing looks evil.
Yeah. But also awesome.
Totally awesome.
Hey, buddy.
But anyway, yeah, definitely not an orangutan.
Yeah, it doesn't look anything like a monkey.
What she saw sounds a lot like what we did the interview with Derek Hayes from Monsters Among Us and David Flora from Blurry Photos. They did that awesome documentary, Shadows in the Desert, about the Borrego Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Same sort of thing with where that one eyewitness saw. Same sort of thing on an embankment. Small little 4-foot hairy creature by the water, looking back, very like kind of gnarled.
Maybe it was a little person, elderly Bigfoot.
Well, it's funny you say that, John.
Little person, elderly Bigfoot. Whammy.
The Fae connection's pretty strong here. If you can, like she says that she's always believed that somehow that second experience in her house with that invisible thing that ran down the stairs that her dog barked at, she always believed that they were connected somehow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
And there are different descriptions that make me think, the Fae connection, small, short.
Like shapeshifter?
Ruddy face. You hear that a lot with these sorts of entities. Not necessarily shapeshifter, but, if it is a fairy type thing, going invisible.
Oh, I see.
Anyway, just a thought. But yeah, very bizarre. Sounds like a cool ranch to grow up on.
Yeah, minus the dark magic.
Anywho, thank you for sharing that, Texas Gal.
Yes.
Shall we move on?
Onwards.
Okay. Which one do you want to do, John?
We can do Bear the dog.
All right. Bear the dog and the female reaper. The girl grim.
I like to call her the Femme Reaper.
The femme reaper. That's got a cooler ring to it.
The she reap.
This is an interesting story. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about it because I've got some very specific ideas about what occurred here.
Well, let's hear it.
But let's play it up. This comes from Ben Soto. Oh, and make sure to check out Halloween Head Comics, by the way, if you haven't.
Oh, yeah.
He and his brother Justin create some pretty incredible horror comics over there. One of which I was honored to be included in the last volume of their Tricks and Treats series.
That's right.
With my little poem, The Drifting Machine. So check it out. We'll have that linked in the show notes.
Man, that was so good. The Drifting Machine.
But so we are honored to have Ben's true account premiering on our show right now.
Absolutely.
All right. This is called Bear the Dog and the Femme Reaper.
From age 12 to 18, my family lived in a house near the end of a cul-de-sac in Edinburgh, Texas. This street had to have been one of those places where the veil was thin, a paranormal hotspot. Across the street, one house up, was an old man who would sit outside at night and would tell anyone who would listen that he would see little gnomes walking down our street. Across the street, and one house down, the occupant's youngest son had an imaginary friend that he said lived in the ceiling. One time when they were gone on vacation for a few days, their neighbors swore that they saw the youngest boy in the window and called them, afraid they had left their son behind. Soon after, the occupants of that house moved away. There's more to the story, but I'm just setting up what kind of things happened on the street. There were nights that we would hear what sounded like a Fisher-Price corn popper moving down the street, but the streets were empty. On one night, we heard a loud boom and saw a bright light about roof high shoot from the end of the street to the entrance. Every one of our neighbors rushed out to see what it was. The boom rattled everyone's house. Okay, so now that you know how weird this street is, on to my story. I was about 16 years old, and I had a black chow mix named Bear. I named him that because he looked like a little bear cub when I picked him out of the litter. I'd had him for almost 3 years by this point. I'd play football with him and wrestle with him, take him out to a nearby wooded area, and unleash him to chase rabbits. We were pretty close. He was the family dog, but really he was my dog. I'm not one who remembers my dreams very often. I usually just remember the creepy ones. But one night, I had one of those dreams. On cool nights, I'd sleep with my window open, my head facing the window. In my dream, I woke up because I heard Bear barking. I looked up and out of the window, and it wasn't night, but not exactly day either. It was like an overcast gray kind of lighting. There was lots of fog in the air. My window faced the backyard. We had a chain link fence between our yard and the alley that ran behind our houses. And there I saw the silhouette of a woman wearing a dark hooded cape or robe. I could see the skin of her forearms. It was a very pale white color. Bear was barking at her. In my dream, I was now outside, and I took a few steps toward her. She was now turned towards me, her hood still hiding her face. I don't know why I said what I said, but this is what I said. "I know who you are, and I'm not afraid of you." She then looked up, and her face was skeletal. She put her hands in what must have been pockets in the cape or robe and turned to continue down the alley. As she continued, she pulled her pockets inside out and seemingly covered herself in shadow and disappeared. When I woke up, Bear was laying right beneath my window. I smiled and thought to myself, "Good boy." I don't know what that thing was. It looked like a female Grim Reaper. I just know Bear had my back. I'd go on to dream of Bear even after he died 10 years later, like he would wait for me in my dreams, and I'd play with him and pet him there.
I thought it was a great story. What are your thoughts? Because I have some thoughts.
Go for it.
Okay, bear with me here.
Pun intended.
Oh yeah, pun intended. Not intended, but I'll take it. Okay, so I think it's interesting. So this street, seems to have a lot of strange things happening on it, right?
Some streets are just magical.
Yeah. Could this have just been a very vivid dream? Potentially. Could it have been? How many cases have we heard of strange denizens of the astral plane that seem to exist between sleep and wakefulness that have cloaked wardrobes or hoods?
Mm-hmm.
The female Grim Reaper is a fascinating, or seemingly Grim Reaper, an entity that looks like that's feminine. There are some really fascinating stories about that. So
yeah, we've had some.
Yeah, we've had some. I've read some other ones, other places. But I think really fascinating. And to me, I love this idea of this place. Could this Siesta Drive in Edinburgh, Texas, could this be a sort of thin place?
Ooh.
Where all these very different sorts of strange paranormal phenomena seem to be occurring. So I think looking through it, through that framing, that lens, could this be more than a dream? Could this have been him waking, looking out his window, indeed, onto this strange drive, this strange street, and seeing another paranormal thing that was maybe there to feed on him or, whatever, experience his bedroom in the night or something. But just out there in the alleyway. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting story.
Yeah.
When you look at it that way.
I know where I'm driving tomorrow. I want some magic. Oh, wait, that's a little far.
Is it?
That's like 5 hours from here. Texas is so big.
Edinburgh's right on the border.
Yeah, right on the border of Mexico.
Oh,
Mexico,
really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. It just reminds me of being a kid growing up on Stonewood Street.
Yeah.
The magic and strangeness there, especially when you're a kid.
We had less gnomes and sky anomalies, but we did have some weird things occur.
We had some hauntings. But yeah, thank you, Ben. Killer story.
Yes. All right. Okay, this is an account that this is not one of our listener stories, but I want to tell it because we travel a lot on this highway when we come to Texas because we'll leave Austin sometimes visiting John and going down to Houston to visit our friend John.
Other John.
This highway 290 is a strange strip of roadway, I guess. This actually was submitted to Phantoms and Monsters, and it's just kind of an insane, fun story. So I thought we could maybe do this one before we go to the break because it is definitely interesting. This was submitted to Phantoms and Monsters, and this happened Tuesday, July 16th, 2019. So not that long ago. I call this White Beaked Freak on Highway 290. I'm not a long-haul trucker, so to speak, but I am required to go from Texas to Idaho and Texas to Indiana and Texas to Ithaca, New York regularly by van. My drives usually last 18 to 20 hours. Sometimes I have wildlife in my vehicle. Sometimes I'm on my way to pick up an animal. My job involves a lot of hands-on stuff. Driving is just the secondary of it. That being said, I've seen a lot of road. I've seen so much death from accidents, death from dumb mistakes. I've seen motorcycles split into many pieces as they slide on the road. I've seen a bridge collapse on several cars. I've seen hitchhikers, stray animals, wildlife, car crashes, fresh accidents, tornadoes, etc. I think you get it. There was one time, though, unlike anything else. I was on one of my shortest drives, but it was late in the night, about 1 a.m. I had to be in Austin, Texas, as soon as possible because a citizen had found a bird that was incapacitated but alive in Houston, Texas. The bird had been sedated. I had to get it to the specialist as soon as possible, or it would surely die. Fortunately, The vet who specializes in this particular wildlife said she had to be up for surgery early anyways, and if I could make it up by 4 a.m., she would take it. The highway between Austin and Houston is called Highway 290. It has a few places where it forces you to stop, but there are a few places that are completely undeveloped and very, very dark. I wasn't tired. I was on high alert. After leaving the town of Page, there's a long stretch of very dark highway. No roadside lights, no development, just tree-lined 2 lanes of highway going in both directions. I remember the highway kind of dips down shortly after that dark stretch and opens up to the highway system that can take you to Bastrop or San Marcos. It wasn't unusual to be alone out there. I should also note that I am an avid bird watcher. In fact, it's my job to report sightings and behavior on a daily basis. Even at night when driving, I can spot a hawk or dove curtailing the power lines along the roads. At night, it wasn't unusual to see a deer or a coyote pacing the outside or even the middle of the roads. This time though, as my car dipped down the highway and the bridge to Bastrop came into sight, something came into view so big and so white. I braked hard. My car jolted to a stop as the sheer vast white mass moved over me quickly. I could hear it whoosh. I don't know what came over me. I opened my window and quickly the bird in the kennel behind me started making a horrible noise. I forgot to look out the window and looked behind me. And there, inside the van, was this sheer white mass with a huge beak face and dark red eyes. I was in full panic. I couldn't move a muscle or make a sound. I was absolutely horrified to see what I saw, all while this little bird was letting out a horrible scream repeatedly. Mind you, it's supposed to be sedated. It was like a knife to my nerves. It had cut all functionality. The white ghost-like creature appeared to wave its hand, and I felt my mouth open and let out a raspy scream. The white creature bolted right toward my face. My asshole clenched harder than a bank vault door. What? The creature moved past me and out of the front windshield. It turned back to look at me, look at my wide-eyed, frightened face, and took off into the sky. This is the first time I've ever said anything about this. I still get shaken when I think about those dark eyes and the swiftness it moved into my sight. I've never seen anything like that again. It's been 6 years now. To this day, it is the only paranormal interaction I could truly say I've ever experienced. Bizarre.
Yeah, very, very, very weird.
Very strange.
Major flashbacks to the gremlin from Twilight Zone, right? Like the wave.
Oh, yeah.
And then it takes off into the sky.
Oh, great point. Maybe it was a gremlin.
Yeah, same scene in my mind.
Very bizarre. Colorful description there with the vault door.
That was on 290?
290.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's funny. That's the way we drove to Houston from Austin.
I know.
We were trying to find that spot or hoping.
We should go at night.
Is that the road you see? Is it outside of Bastrop, that water tower with the smiling face?
Yeah.
Creepy smiling water tower?
I think that's right outside of Bastrop.
I remember when there was that forest fire.
Creepy smiling water tower.
It's like a reflection of that story. But I remember that smiling water tower just standing up high over all the destruction when that forest fire hit years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Haunting.
The dead, burned down trees underneath it.
So what was this thing, Chris?
I have no idea, but it's very strange. Some sort of astral bird entity of some sort, it sounds like. I just loved it because it was so strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, again, Phantoms and Monsters, a great resource as well for strange stories.
Yeah.
You can search their website for different stuff.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay off the highways at night, unless you're a trucker. And if you are a trucker and you've got some good stories, we've had a couple sent in. We need to do a truckers episode. We have some bookmarked.
We've done one before. I'd love to do another one. Those are
Yeah.
always really fun and interesting.
Yeah, let us know.
But yeah. All right, John, you ready? You ready for the one you've been itching for?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Kitty comes home. This next story is interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys can probably relate to losing an animal for a period of time. A close friend of an animal. This is one such story with a strange twist.
It's weird. I dreamt that I found a strange bird that just had babies in the woods last night, and a cat.
How is it strange? And a cat?
Mm-hmm.
Weird. Were you reading my stories ahead of time?
No. So it was very strange, very real, surreal. Like I'd known this place before kind of story.
Oh, yeah.
was living there in the woods just taking care of animals. But the bird was strange.
Weird.
Not like that bird, though.
All right. Well, this happened in the fall of 2021 in Texas. This comes to us from Christy. I call this Kitty Comes Home.
In the fall of 2021, my mother-in-law found a tiny but feisty black kitten with one patch under her left leg, under her porch. She knew I was a cat person and asked if I wanted her, and of course, I took her in. I called her Little Kitty, and she was the strangest, wildest, funniest kitten I have ever seen, and I adored her, even when she somehow demolished my Christmas tree, despite being about the size of a little potato. She'd play fetch like a dog for as long as you'd throw something, and she would sit on my knee and stare back and forth at my husband and I when we were talking, like she was following along the conversation. A few days before Christmas, I let her out on my screened-in porch to play with my older cat Tuna, and she managed to find a small hole in the screen and get out, never to return. I was beyond devastated. Fast forward to summer, when someone dumped a very pregnant cat at our gate. We took her in, but she was and is still terrified of our dogs, so she settled in as a barn cat and had 5 kittens. Once they were big enough, I found them new homes, save one, a funny little tortie girl I named Grim, who stole my heart. Grim came and went from the house, but mostly lived in the barn with her mom, until yet again, 2 days before Christmas, I couldn't find her anywhere. I was so upset, I just couldn't believe it happened again. I've always had barn cats, and they've all lived to ripe old ages. Christmas Eve morning rolled around, and I heard loud meowing at the front door. I rush over to open it, and instead of a tortie, there sat a black cat who flounced right in like she owned the joint. She set herself up on the living room rug and started playfully rolling on her back. And there, inside her left leg, was a white patch. It was Little Kitty, who'd been gone for a year almost to the day. I quite literally couldn't believe it, and I was the only one at home, so I snapped a picture of her to prove to myself and everyone else she was real. About an hour after she showed up, I get a call from our local postmaster. He had seen a missing kitty picture on Facebook of Grim, who happened to be keeping him company at our local post office. Apparently, she took a ride into town under my car. I told him I would be right there to pick her up. Little Kitty stared at me as I was on the phone, and somehow I couldn't help but feel like she had some weird connection to all this. When I hung up, she followed me to the front door. I put on my coat and said, "You don't want to stay?" And to be honest, I half expected an answer, but something in me knew I wasn't meant to keep her in the house, so I opened the door and off she went. I watched her trot around the barn, and she was gone. I picked up Grim, who I'm happy to report is living a fat, happy life around a new deluxe chicken coop we built this spring.
Interesting.
Wow, okay. So Little Kitty came back to keep her company when Grim went missing.
Yeah, that's what I gathered from it. That was kind of the sort of strange part of the story, is that she loses this cat that she loved. And, one day it just walks away, never to return. And then a year later on the anniversary, when she just loses her other cat and had put up signs hoping people will find it, this cat that had been missing for a year appears on her doorstep.
Comes back.
Like it had never gone anywhere, and spends the day with her until she gets a call from the postmaster that her new kitty Grim has been located and that she can come pick it up.
And she's like, "See ya."
Leaves her life again. Like,
I did my work.
Yeah, was there to just be there for her. I don't know. It's a really kind of unique story.
It's interesting. It's
like the animal companion guardian sort of
right.
thing.
Yeah, it could point towards just the connection of, when this human that this cat had a connection to needed some support, maybe.
So I wonder if it was real or not.
Oh, the cat?
Yeah. Is it possible that it was like
spirit,
an apparition of that cat? Yeah, guardian spirit kind of thing. Who knows if it was the mortal terrestrial cat that she had known before.
Or maybe some kind of manifestation.
Yeah. I thought I might have written her and asked her about that, and I thought she said that her cat had been killed.
Oh, but she took a photo of it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's right.
At least it must have been physical enough to appear on camera, but could still be more energetic to kind of get out of the limb a little bit. But
Yeah.
You know, you can photograph a ghost, gosh darn it.
And that came from Christy.
Yeah, thanks, Christy.
But yeah, I'll let you guys know if I can find. I think I might have asked her about that, so I'll drop it. And if I did, in fact, ask her about that, because I feel like I remember doing a follow-up. But
Chris, I checked your correspondence. You did not follow up. You have failed.
It is weird. Did you notice that you just did a story about Bear the dog and the Femme Reaper, and now a story about Grimm?
man, there's always weird connections like that. The last episode, someone during the premiere said, geez, how many Fox stories are going to be in here?
Yeah.
Because there was the CIA, the Fox experimentation from our listener who ran that Fox facility.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the other story that had a fox in it.
Fox Spirit.
Oh, the Fox Spirit. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's always weird little synchronicities in these episodes, which I think is pretty cool.
It's the universe saying, hello.
Just winking.
Just how do you do?
All right, well,
Great story so far.
yeah, I say we take a quick break. Hopefully you guys are digging the vibe today and the whole this
Yeah.
little animal theme going on a bit.
And hold on tight. It might get a little darker. Little freakier in the second half, but stay tuned.
Oh yeah, we've got a doomed parking lot that is really fascinating. Speak pipe that has some implications.
Yeah. And that might be one to skip for the kids potentially, but we'll
That one, we'll let you know.
let you know.
Also, I have the witching trailers, which is a pretty incredible story. But yeah, a lot of great stuff coming up after the break, guys. So stick around.
What's going on for expansion?
Oh yes, and by the way, for our expansion episode, our members only expansion episode coming up is freaking fascinating. We're going to kick it off with a really great book we got from a listener of the show, Margella, from Down Under, a very obscure text called How to Defend Yourself Against Alien Abduction.
Oh, yeah.
This is a really interesting deep dive on techniques gathered by a pretty brilliant ufologist researcher, Ann Druffel, who studied over about 250 cases of alleged alien abduction and found these nodes of truth that might shed some light on stopping an abduction in its tracks. So you want to hear that?
Yeah. Crazy.
And then Jeremy has a fascinating account coming up in the second half of the members only episode in the expansion.
Yeah. It's really one of the most fascinating accounts that I've come across. I've never heard of this before. The story of a night watchman in Italy in the 1970s, allegedly abducted by some unknown entities. And we're not only going to go through his account, but we're going to get to hear from his own words through the process of hypnosis and regression therapy, what he witnessed. It's going to be fascinating.
That's right. If you don't have enough hole, you can sign up to be an expansion
so
member
juicy.
and get double the episodes and
Oh, so
ad-free
juicy.
episodes, which is oh so juicy.
Very juicy.
All right, guys. We'll be right back.
We'll see you after the break. Welcome back.
Hello.
Time to get into a little stranger, even I would say, stranger tales. Some darker. Actually, one from Sharon, who we heard from earlier. I realized that we had a speak pipe, and I think it's from the same Sharon. That's coming up, and it's a little dark, so I wanted to kind of start this off with a quick little, I don't know, taste of niceness, I would say.
Ooh.
This comes from Michelle in Jacksonville, Texas, and it's part of a couple pieces of a story she had, but her speak pipe was cut off, so if you hear this, Michelle, feel free to speak pipe in again, but this is just the first part, which I just found kind of sweet. She was born in the woods of Jacksonville, Texas, and this is called...
Like a feral child?
No, she in a house. She was born in a house.
Pretty cool backstory.
Yeah, this is just a nice little anecdote. This is called Timberwolf Pup, and it's along the lines of the story I had earlier with the kitten, the Come To Me kitten.
Bring on the beasts.
Okay, here we go.
Hey guys, I was born in Jacksonville, Texas, in farmer country, in a house in the woods. Now, in the woods, you have all kinds of animals. Well, my mom one day opened the door and she found what she called a puppy. My grandfather saw it later on and said, "That's a timber wolf." Well, that dog or timber wolf was kept for a little over a year. And during this time, if I was upset or if I was crying, that Timberwolf would not let my mom anywhere near me. I found out later it was because she wasn't the best mother. Well, the point of the story is that there wasn't any reason for that Timberwolf to be there logically. I don't remember him, but I will forever hold that story in my heart because that Timberwolf came and was my protector for a little while.
So I thought that was kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Of course, timber wolves died out, allegedly, according to the official record, about, I think, 10,000 years ago.
I think you're thinking of direwolf.
Oh.
I think you confused those.
Okay, well then.
Timber wolves are around. Are you typing a lot on your computer or something?
I just did just then to type the word Timberwolf. Oh yeah, so Timberwolf, that makes it a little less like,
supernatural. You were thinking that there was a direwolf pup?
The ghost of a direwolf.
The Pleistocene or whatever?
Yeah, but still, I mean, Timberwolf, that's very cool. Wolves, I think they're functionally extinct in Texas, in East Texas.
That's interesting.
But there are still occasionally, like a wolf. Hunters will still occasionally shoot a wolf taking cattle. So they're rare, but they're functionally extinct is the term. So I just found it cool that this thing shows up and kind of becomes her protector. Definitely a connection with animals and people that go beyond just, I think, domestication.
Right.
At times. Yeah, I just thought that was a nice little story.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was sweet. But I thought that would kind of grease the skids for maybe some of these next creepy accounts. Okay, guys, this next one, I just need to give you guys a heads up. If you have children listening, or if you're sensitive to certain things involving death by one's own hands, the story involves that.
This is a bizarre story.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, it almost feels like a piece of urban legend or folklore that Sharon had information brought to her from her daughter. She had access to this information, and I tried to look up. I found some evidence of some of these accounts actually occurring, but it doesn't go into too much detail, probably for obvious reasons. It's a sensitive subject. So again, guys, if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, this is a warning for you. And if you want your kids to hear this, that's probably a good idea. So you have been warned. But it is, I think, an interesting piece of story, an interesting account. So this is called The Parking Space of Doom.
Yes, I wanted to report a story my daughter told me. My daughter works for McCoy's Lumber Company in Alvin, Texas. Alvin is a small town between Galveston and Houston. This particular store opened 5 years ago. And since that time, 3 different people have randomly pulled up in the parking lot in the same spot and shot themselves, committed suicide. A 4th one tried to, but they were able to stop him before he had a chance to shoot himself. In addition, there's been 2 employees that committed suicide. One was smashed by a forklift on purpose. And the other one had his truck run over his head. But all this kind of happened in the same area of the parking lot, which I find rather bizarre that a random people would just pull up to a business in the same spot and they don't know each other and kill themselves. Anyway, that's really all I have to say. It's a short story, but I just find it rather odd, and I thought you might want to look into it. Enjoy listening to your show. Thanks for what you do.
That is insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's hard not to think there's some sort of cursed property or something in that area. Some kind of weird. It reminds me of that Japanese forest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
What's it called?
I have it in here, actually.
Aokigari?
Yeah, the suicide forest.
Yeah, Sea of Trees. Yeah.
And people are just
it's almost like people are drawn to it. Yeah.
Well, you have this, one explanation potentially is, Alvin's a small town. And, much like the Golden Gate Bridge, where people seem to be drawn to jump, and maybe because they know of other people who jumped there, it's almost like the copycat effect.
Oh, yeah.
For whatever reason, this happens in different locations. You mentioned the Okagahara
Yeah.
in Japan, the forest, Golden Gate Bridge.
Those are very sort of romantic sort of spots, though. The Golden Gate Bridge.
Or a forest. Yeah, a parking space.
Parking space at a lumberyard seems very...
It's very odd.
That seems more like Stephen King, deep, sinister, ancient spirit.
Like there is a sinister magnetism to this place for whatever, something drawing people in.
Yeah, who knows? But very strange and very creepy.
Other possible explanations we've talked about, we did the expansion on the Austin, we talked about the Driscoll, and of course we touched on limestone.
Yeah.
And limestones have always been linked, or at least for a long time, to hauntings, paranormal phenomena. And Alvin, much like a lot of Southeast Texas, has underground aquifers and high humidity, which allegedly can amplify residual energies, along with the limestone that might be also doing some kind of amplification. I mean, these are all, super theoretical. But one thing I kind of was thinking of as an interesting possibility was, I wonder where this sat on the map.
Uh-huh.
Like ley lines, right? We talk about ley lines as usually like a powerful magnetic kind of idea. And usually it's a positive kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want you guys to see this. I'll share my screen. All right, you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Okay, so this is a map of Alvin, Texas, and this is, of the United States, the Earth in general, from leylines.net, and you can overlay where ley lines are according to which ley line grid system you're using. And so I looked at Alvin, Texas, and I didn't see any, and then I found a grid line that actually someone else had written about this grid line. It's called the Becker-Hagens UVG grid, and it's the yin grid line. The yin means it's a less potent or maybe not as positive grid line, which I just find interesting. Anyway, this is how it hits.
Oh, it goes right through there.
Well, yeah, I haven't even turned it on. I'm about to turn it on. This is how
I
it
assumed
hits.
that's a highway.
That was a highway. Here you go. See
Oh,
that
weird, yeah.
big blue line?
Yeah.
Right? Eats up Alvin. Alvin's right in the center of this grid line. You'll notice it's only one of two
weird.
grid lines that go through Texas.
Intersects two lines at the same spot.
It's pretty close to an intersection of the line, but it's look how big Texas is. I mean, obviously it's a massive.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a tiny point southeast of Texas in this grid line. It goes right through Alvin, Texas, in the heart of this grid line.
Yeah.
I just find that interesting. And the fact that there's a suggestion you could make that's it's close to Galveston. You have the tragedy of the hurricanes and the massive floods, and who knows what kind of buildup is there. Maybe it has to do with the aquifers, unique patterning, or maybe it's just a random place. Maybe
it could also be natural physical things like certain frequencies, low frequency waves that can cause certain mood swings, things like that.
Yeah, they did have the unexplained boom there.
Okay.
I don't know if that was last year or a few years ago, but I'm pretty sure that was at Alvin, Texas or surrounding areas. But anyways, I thought it was interesting that I happened to find that ley line just cut right through.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Right through Alvin, Texas, right where this lumberyard is. So I don't know if that has anything to
do
do with it.
Avoiding this lumberyard.
Anyways, it's an interesting piece of local lore. So thank you for that, Sharon. Fascinating story.
Yeah.
And concept to look into.
Definitely unique.
Maybe we should just say, if you're thinking of unaliving yourself, as YouTube would say it, don't do that.
Yeah.
You are loved.
The whole love's all. All right, guys, this next account is really fascinating. It's very cinematic in my mind. And it's a great tale of a potential near miss, maybe cohabitating with dark familiars, with strange designs, perhaps.
Dark familiars?
Yes, because it is a witch story. This comes to us from Lena, and this happened in Carthage, Texas in 1998. A lot of stories around that time period today. And this I call the witching trailer. I was 7 years old when my mom, a single mother, moved us from Louisiana to Texas in the summer of 1998 for a fresh start. I was really excited for the move because it would be the first time I would be attending a public school. We stayed with my aunt while my mom found work and also searched for a place for us to live. She quickly found both. We packed up the few belongings that we had and loaded everything up in her little black pickup truck and hit the road to our new place. It wasn't too far away from where my aunt lived, but as we drove, I noticed that we were driving further away from the suburban area she lived in and more towards a rural, more wooded area. Time seemed to pass by so slowly as we drove deeper and deeper into the woods. Finally, my mom told me that we were approaching our new home. I looked up and saw 3 small trailers sitting just off the side of the highway, tucked neatly into the surrounding woods. They seemed to be almost perfectly positioned, with one main trailer sitting right in front of the road, and the other two on either side, right behind this main one, almost forming a triangle of sorts. I looked around to see if there were any other trailers or homes. To my surprise, there weren't, just these 3 small white trailers sitting in the woods. Again, I was used to this type of setting, so it didn't alarm me too much, to be honest. She parked the truck just in front of the main trailer, and as we got out, I asked if there was anyone else living in the other 2 trailers, behind us. She said, "No, not yet as far as I know," which I felt was a little strange, but being 7 years old, I didn't put much thought into it. She went ahead of me to open the trailer door. I slowly followed behind her and eventually made my way into the entrance. As soon as I stepped foot into the trailer, it's as if time stopped altogether. I was frozen to the spot. As I looked slowly around the trailer, I saw at least a dozen hovering shadow figures, moving all across and in and out of the rooms. I couldn't move. I couldn't blink, and for a moment, I couldn't even speak. I was finally able to muster out one simple sentence loudly to my mom, and that was, "We can't stay here." As I said this, I came back into my body and ran straight back outside. My mom followed me out and said, "What do you mean?" I repeated what I had said. "We can't stay here." This time, a little more frantic in tone. She let out a loud sigh and said, "We don't have a choice. This is where we're going to live, and you're going to have to deal with it. It's not the best, but this is what I can afford, and it's better than nothing." As she proceeded to start moving boxes in, I then yelled, "You don't understand. We can't stay here. It's not safe." At this point, I was full on panicking and crying. She was obviously frustrated, brought in the rest of the boxes quickly, and then told me to get back in the truck. From there, we started heading back towards my aunt's house. As we drove, she continued to question me on why I thought it wasn't safe, and what made me say those things. I told her that I couldn't explain it, but that there were things there, bad things that I saw. She stayed quiet the rest of the way, and by this point, it was already late evening, so she told my aunt that we would just stay the night and pick back up the following day because I was upset and giving her a hard time with the move. As they talked outside on my aunt's front patio, a lady approached from the house across the street. She walked straight up to my mom and put her hand on her shoulder. I believe her name was Nancy. My aunt only knew her as an acquaintance since they were neighbors. My mom turned to look at her, and as she did, Nancy said, "You can't move into that trailer." This left my mom stunned. This woman knew nothing about anything going on. My mom hadn't even told my aunt about anything I had said or saw. My mom asked her why, and this is what Nancy proceeded to tell her. A witch owned those 3 trailers, and she wasn't a good witch. She knew of this woman, and she apparently had a lot of money, so she bought a few trailers and was trying to rent them out to people. Nancy said that something called her to come and give my mom this information before it was too late. This, of course, was the last straw for my mom, and she was officially convinced. The next day came, and my mom was asked to go into her new job for an onboarding last minute. So she gave my aunt the keys to the trailer and asked if she could drop them off to the owner's daughter for her. My aunt agreed, and after my mom left, her and I headed to bring the keys back. Once again, as we drove, I noticed us heading into the woods again. This made me slightly uneasy at this point for obvious reasons. We pulled off the highway and onto a dirt road that led further into the crowded woods. We approached a large black metal gate. My aunt pressed the button on the call box, and the gates immediately opened. As we drove in, we approached a massive Gothic-style brick home, a borderline mansion. This was the largest home I'd ever seen. We pulled up to the front door, and a dark-haired woman stood waiting for us in the entranceway. We got out of the car, and the woman invited us in. Once inside, the woman and my aunt began to chit-chat. I didn't care to listen to their conversation because I was enthralled by the massive home I was looking at. I began walking around the living room area, being nosy, as kids do, and saw a very large stairwell. Right above the first flight of stairs hung a giant painted portrait of an older woman with gray hair, dressed in what appeared to be a very fancy dress. I felt the urge to walk up the stairs and continue looking around. I made it up only 3 steps before the woman shouted,
Don't go up there!
This obviously startled me, and my aunt ran and grabbed my hand to bring me back into the kitchen area where they had been talking. She scolded me a little and then asked the woman if she could use her restroom before we leave. The woman agreed. She brought her over to the restroom, and as she did, I noticed a picture of a little girl with black hair sitting on the shelf just nearby. I walked over to the photo and stared at it. The woman then walked up behind me, and I asked, Who is she? She replied,
She's my daughter.
I asked where she was, and the woman said she was at school. I knew this couldn't be true because it was the middle of summer break. Then out of nowhere, the woman said,
She likes to sleep in the closet.
Of course, I asked why, not understanding why she was telling me this. She then said ominously,
She's afraid of my mother, her grandmother. Do you want to see?
As I began to open my mouth to say yes, my aunt came out from the bathroom, saying that we were going to head out. The woman went over to my aunt, and my aunt handed over the keys, and asked about her mom, because she thought that she was giving the keys directly to her. The woman then stated that her mother had been in the hospital, which is why she couldn't be there. My aunt didn't put much thought into it, grabbed my hand, and we headed out the door. I looked over my shoulder as we walked to the car. All the while, the woman stood in the entranceway with a smile, never unlocking eyes with me. We drove off, and I asked my aunt, How did she know my name? And my aunt was just as perplexed as I was, because she hadn't mentioned my name. We shrugged it off and went home. After this, the lady who lived across from my aunt actually ended up moving out and rented out her home to us, so we were lucky enough to live right across the street from my aunt. I, of course, moved on, though this event always stuck in my mind. About a year later, my mom spoke with the lady whose home we were renting, and she told my mom that she had found out those same 3 trailers had mysteriously caught fire and burned down. No one had been living in them, and the police had no explanation how or why they caught on fire. To this day, those questions have never been solved. I'm now 33 years old, and this event still sticks with me like it was yesterday. And all I can wonder is if we had moved in, would we have been in that trailer when they caught on fire? Or was there a more sinister secret lurking in those woods? I'll never truly know, but one thing I can say is that this was just the start of many unusual and paranormal experiences I would experience throughout my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for that story.
Very, definitely nodes of like a classic witch tale.
Yep. Sounds like a start of a movie.
Yeah. Going deep into the woods, like as you're getting further and further.
The witch owns those 3 trailers.
Yeah.
And not a good witch, a bad witch.
Not Belinda.
Mm-mm.
Not a Belinda. Yeah, and I started to think about it more hearing the story again and started imagining imagine moving into a trailer and there's 2 other ones there. You realize they're all kind of oriented in a weird pattern.
Yeah.
Like you're the head of a triangle and these abandoned trailers behind you. Then you hear that it's owned by a witch. And then I thought the creepiest part of the story was when they go to the lady who owns the house and her daughter is there and welcomes Lena and her aunt in. And, Lena's exploring the house and, very creepy setting. And then anyways, the creepiest part I thought was when she was like, who's this young girl? And she said, that's my daughter. She likes to sleep in the closet. Just says that out of nowhere. That's such an eerie.
I don't like that I'm sitting in a closet in the dark right now.
I know.
Recording this.
And then she asks her, do you want to see?
Oh.
What does that mean?
I didn't catch that.
Like right before the aunt comes over, she's like, she sleeps in the closet because she's afraid of my mother, her grandmother. Do you want to see? Now, what does she want to, what does she ask you to see why she's afraid of her grandmother? Or do you want to see her sleeping in the closet? I don't know. Either way, it was very unsettling detail, I thought.
Yeah. I thought the trailer, when they first go into the trailer and those things are like swimming around, this like shadow figures swimming around the ceiling. And
oh yeah.
Like, it's just so disturbing to hear that later that, yeah, this bad witch was, I imagine, doing some kind of dark magic, summoning things in there and just like left it. left them in. It's just a feeding ground for anything that might come in there.
Yeah, very strange.
You know, and they're just swimming around like sharks in the water that you can't see, but she could.
Yeah.
Just waiting to feed. That's really creepy. And also the fire. Why would I wonder how that came to happen? Because you'd think that if it was the forces behind this darkness in the trailers, they wouldn't want their food tray to be burned up, a potential, feeding ground.
Maybe it was a good force.
Maybe it was someone who had been affected by this witchcraft or the original witch. They came to burn the trailers down because of some of the experience. Who knows?
Maybe it was Nancy, the neighbor.
Maybe it was Nancy. It's always Nancy.
Negative Nancy.
Especially in the 90s.
This is a positive one.
90s Nancy's, I tell you.
Thank you for sharing that, Lena. That was a really, really fascinating story.
Yeah, great account.
Oh, yeah. Very interesting.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed those stories today. We have many, many more
Oh, man.
to
Yeah.
present to you.
We didn't even get through a quarter of our Texas stories.
I know. So if you haven't heard your story, stay tuned.
Forever.
Forever and ever. Keep listening.
There will always be more.
Yeah, but before we go, don't we have something special, John?
We do. We've got a special stinger for the lovely Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Queen of the Hole.
That she is.
Is this Maves?
Lindsay Maves.
Lindsay Maves.
Nice.
And I've been saying this has been coming for a while for her, so finally got around to it. And we have thank yous coming up after that.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Lindsay is she really is a true hero of the whole and a real sweetheart. A lot of the work that we do is aided greatly by what she does.
So this one is for you, Lindsay. Lindsay is the queen of the hole. And life just keeps getting better with her.
Ooh.
I don't know how she does it, but she's filling our world. Filling it with magical splendor. Lindsay is the queen of the whole.
It's official.
She just keeps getting better for sure. She makes it easy to forget the problems of the world, and the universe is bending to her.
Yeah, powerful Lindsay.
She makes it easy. She makes it.
I love the hook here.
Yay, Lindsay.
I love it had a real 90s first at Eels and then into what's that guy who wore that kind of fishing hat? New Radicals at the end for some reason reminded me of that.
That's funny.
Great vibes, John. Good job.
Thanks.
For a great gal.
Yeah,
thank you.
seriously. It's official. She's now the queen of the whole. You stamped it in a song, so she will forever be.
And now on to
Oh, yeah.
a long-delayed series of thank yous.
Yes. And if you don't hear your name tonight, you will hear it in the future as we are running through the rest of
Someday,
these.
Yes.
somewhere over the rainbow, you'll hear your name.
Yes, you will. Thank you for supporting the show in an extra special way. Thank you, too. Welcome home, Susan E. Crone.
Oh, yes. E.T. phone home, Susan.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome into the hole.
And give her a Dogman sound. Because she's a freaking Dogman.
Right.
Dogman Whisperer, I should be clear. For that special tier. Thank you, Susan. Braden Kinsler is in the hole. Hi, Brad.
Brett Kinsler.
Kinsler.
Take him to dinner. That's an offer.
Okay. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you for being with
Good
us.
to have had you.
Yeah, I agree.
Christian Mother Effin Hunter Yarborough.
That's a Christian name?
Well, it says MF in the middle. I'm assuming that's what it stands for.
That's good.
Christian MF Hunter Yarborough. Christian, what's up, man?
Could be Miles Franklin. You don't know.
Christian Miles Franklin Hunter Yarborough.
There you go.
Welcome to be here, brother. Thank you for being a Dogman Whisperer.
Welcome him.
Oh, it's Jake.
Oh, hey, Jake.
Hi, Jake. Welcome to be here.
Hi, guys.
Fancy seeing you in the hole.
Thanks to have you, my friend. David Reynolds is here. Hey, Dave.
David Reynolds.
Hello.
Related to Frank Reynolds?
Yes.
Dennis Reynolds?
Champion of the sun.
I was going to go the Reynolds rap route.
Oh, that's better.
He's
Wait, what's that?
more useful than Reynolds. I don't know.
Oh, the cling wrap.
Yeah, Reynolds
All
wrap.
we cling to you in the hole. Oh, that's weird.
Yes, sorry. Thank you, David. Thank you for being awesome.
Welcome in.
Thanks to William Ray.
William Ray.
Just a good guy to see on a good day.
Yes.
I guess like a ray of sunshine he is.
Exactly.
Welcome in, William.
Welcome to be here. Patrick Lewis.
Ooh, Patrick Lewis.
Yes.
2 names in 1. Having fun.
Excellent.
With the name.
Sure.
Thank you, Pat.
2 names in 1. You mean first name?
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. Patrick Lewis. What's up, man? Thank you. Deanne Adair.
Awesome.
That's a pretty name.
Ooh, yeah.
Adair.
I dare you to
Stay awesome
stay awesome in the hole with us.
if you can do it.
Yes.
Thanks for that support, Deanne.
We love you.
Oh, you know what? I think it's Dean.
Oh,
Maybe? Or it's just Dean spelled very excitedly. Deeann. Oh, Deanne?
I don't know.
It's probably D. I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's got to be one of those.
Yes, thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Adair. You are awesome.
Thank you so much.
Susie Cusey.
Yes.
Susie Cusey?
Yeah.
That's a goozy. Oh, not dumb. Susie Cusey? Welcome in.
Don't accuse me.
Okay.
I'm not liking Susie Cusey.
How could you not?
Thanks, Susie.
She loves the hole. We love her. Welcome in.
You are rock and roll. And you're a Dogman Whisperer, so Dogman Growl.
Nice.
Okay, this next person is not Andrew Bennett.
Is that the name?
Thank you, whoever you are, not Andrew Bennett.
Welcome in.
You remain a mystery to us, but we appreciate you being here. Chris Loonston.
Awesome.
Ooh, like Looney Tuneston.
Sure.
Loon. That's an interesting name.
Loon. That's pretty.
I've never seen that name before.
My favorite bird call. Cue loon sound.
Cue the sound of a loon. Chris Loonston. Thanks, friend.
Welcome.
Victoria Reyes is here.
Ooh, hi, Victoria. Queen of my heart.
Hi, guys.
Queen of the Dogman Whisperers.
There you go.
Give her a freaking Dogman howl, John. Do it. Yeah. Nico Pa.
Nico Paw?
That was just fun to say. Let me do that again.
That sounds like a delicious Asian fusion dish.
Right? Nico Pa.
Have you had the latest Nico Paw down at the Pho restaurant?
Nico Pa.
It's Greek and Asian together.
That's got a great ring.
Yes. Welcome in, Nico.
Thank you to be here.
Yes.
Welcome to have you, Mateo.
Yes.
All right, Mateo.
Yes.
Rock and rolling in the hole. Thanks, brother.
Matty Tatty, welcome in.
Thanks for that support.
American Ninja Warrior.
Okay, another Dogman Whisperer. Get ready. You guys know her. You love her. You all can't get enough of her. Aunt Angie.
Yes.
Aunt Angie.
She's a freaking Dogman Whisperer. She was born a Dogman Whisperer, if I'm being honest.
That is a rare gift.
One of many gifts that I know she has. Thank you, Aunt Angie. Thank you for being sweet and for being here.
Yes.
Lindsay Corey.
Lindsay Corey.
Known for good stories.
Lindsay Corey is never gory, but Jeremy's right. She does tell a good story. Welcome in, Lindsay Corey. Is that gory?
We're getting real bad at this.
It's been a long week.
Yes, it has. Joshua Bailey. What's up, man?
All right. Put some of that in my cream.
What?
You know, Bailey's. Like,
I was thinking hay bale.
Oh, okay.
This word association game is getting real challenging over the years.
I'm tired.
Awesome.
I'm tired. But we are infused by you, supporters.
Yes. Support infusion.
Augustus Owens.
Augustus Owens.
Yes.
That is a royal.
It's a hard name to rhyme.
Augustus, like the famed emperor of my heart. We got a queen in there. We got an emperor in there. A lot of people running around my heart today. So thank you.
Okay. Running around in my heart. That sounds painful.
It sounds like some sort of disorder.
Some sort of angina you've got going on. Thanks, Augustus, for Chris's angina. All right, and last but not least, definitely not least today, we have one more final Dogman Whisperer, Culling the Herd.
Oh, Culling the Herd.
And wrapping up this thank you shout-out session with a bang. Dogman Whisperer and Belief Hole Warrior, Heather Carson.
Heather Carson. Come on down. I wish Ed Sullivan was here to give us a hand.
Oh my gosh.
He was Carson's guy, right?
Gotta go with the Carson reference.
What was the clairvoyant thing?
Hello, Johnny.
Johnny would
hello,
do?
Johnny.
That's Nicholas Cage.
Here's
No,
Johnny.
Nicholas Jackson.
Nicholas Jackson said it
Nicholson.
on the shinning.
On the shinning.
Here's
Silly.
hello, Johnny. Hello, Johnny. All right.
That's not anything related to his name, but yes, her name, Carson.
Heather Carson.
Heather
Anyways,
Carson.
thank you for being sweet. Thank you for being Dogman. And thank you for being our final name of the night.
I'm breaking Jeremy's brain.
And thank you guys so much to all you amazing people who signed up at the higher tiers to get your name shouted on the show. We really do appreciate it. And if you have not heard your name yet, well, you, my friend, stay buckled in, stay tuned, because we are getting through these and we are getting closer to the end of the line.
Yeah, we are. I think we went through, we're still getting through the summer signups, but we were getting through them quicker and quicker. So,
right. We did adjust our tier and get rid of the lower tier just so we could catch up to everyone who deserves their name shout out. So thank you for your patience. Thanks for sticking around, and you'll be hearing it soon.
Yes.
If you haven't yet. So stay awesome. And if you do want to sign up for that extra support, the higher tiers are still available, and we love you either way.
That's right. All right, guys, that is it for this episode. We hope you dug the deep Texas lore and the stories we shared with you today. Don't forget to join us in the expansion for some riveting abduction accounts and potential techniques to protect yourself from said abductions.
Might save your life.
Until next time, starve those ghouls.
And thanks for being awesome.
We love you.
Bye.